As is a society so stratified along ethnic, religious, political, economic, and other social-cultural lines. Now, these divides have also found their bearings, attempting to determine how the media function ultimately. The media systems, paradigm, and also interaction provide a national outlook for us to project the desired upliftment. Now, from the signal offerings, through content provision to regulation protocols, how has the framework for understanding the operations of the media in the country worked so far? And how can we build on these interactions to information dissemination for the good of public without crossing the lines, that is contravening the laws? I believe my guest today on the spot is a good choice to enlighten us with some obvious guides. You will meet him in a moment. Welcome to the program. My name is Blessing Abu. My guest is a graduate of theater arts from the University of Jos and also earned a master's degree in theater arts from the same university. He would later follow up with a doctorate degree in media studies from the University of Abuja. Now, to equip himself with management skills, my guest took executive management courses in Georgetown University in the United States, as well as the Kennedy School, Harvard University in the United Kingdom. Now, between 1986 and 1996, my guest ventured into academic space, but he also just told me that he's still lecturing, at least on the side, and that is for English and theater with Kogi State College of Education, Ankpa. Now, my guest served as the Director of Broadcast Policy and Research in the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, before he was appointed the Acting Director General of the Commission on the 14th of February 2020, a position he's still holding till date. On the spot today, I'd like to welcome Professor Amstrong Aduku Idachaba. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Blessing. Good to be here. I like the way you called Aduku.
Yeah, I think that's
very homely, yeah.
Yes.
And I like the punchiness of your delivery.
That's what broadcasters should do. Thank you very much. Now, as a regulatory body, definitely these are wonderful times we've found ourselves. An issue of information dissemination at its height, at its best, and the other terms we call low moments, because it's as if broadcasters or media generally sitting on stepping on eggshells. You have to be extra careful. Now, being at this point of insecurity, and of course information must go out there to the public, how is the NBC stepping on its role actually see to information dissemination without necessarily clamping down on what is supposed to be?
Thank you very much, Blessing, again. And I think that this is a very apt topic. I think it's very topical and also timely, because over the period, what we have seen are reactions to certain regulatory steps by the NBC, and people are hardly ever able to contextualize how some of these steps come about. I think the place to begin actually is to interrogate what the role of the media should be at this kind of time. Of course, expectedly, one should expect that no matter what times we are, people have rights to freedom, people also freedom of expression, people also have rights to access information. But there's also a national imperative that everybody has a duty, to play the role of putting the country together, especially the media. At times like this, have a role of being a positive social agent for unity, for progress, for harmony. And that is the expected role of the media. And some of these role expectations are clearly enunciated in code of broadcast of most countries of the world. I mean, the media is not just there by itself. Let us also recognize the fact that the media, as we have increasingly seen, is a very positive, very potent tool, for any nation's development or any nation's survival. And that is why the media is regulated, because it's also business, and there are competition issues, there are also ethical issues, there are high interest issues, and for that reason, provisions are made, are codified into laws, and the professionals are expected, to abide by these provisions. So what faces the Commission really at times like this is how to create that delicate balance between what is professionally expedient and what is in the national interest and what ordinarily the broadcaster exhibiting human reflexes may want to do.
Okay, I'm glad we touched on that, and it was on purpose I started with that because I know the NBC has been in the eye of the storm in recent weeks. The Hammers are coming saying you're necessarily overbearing, and let me use some words from some of the ones who cast aspersion that you're being high-handed and opposed to media freedom and independence, which I believe that you've tried to explain what is expedience as a journalist, what you should do professionally, and where the guide and ethics should come in. Absolutely. And what should be in the public group. Exactly. I know you've tried to do it, but what is NBC trying to do? Because in the instances now, let's cite the instances where you have received the hammer. Of recent, a private station, Channels Television, came under the hammer saying what it did with the interview with a secessionist group. And also there were some stations that were given the sanctions over the coverage of the EndSARS protests. The right to know is there for the public, but the right to still have what it is of public good at a different point in time. What exactly is NBC trying to give here as admonition?
The right to know is not the same as the right to destroy, basically. And what the NBC does, first of all, let me make the point that Nigeria remains one of the freest, most vibrant broadcast landscapes across the world. As we speak, there are over 600 broadcast stations in Nigeria. Remember, before the deregulation of broadcasting and the emergence of NBC, probably one national radio, one TV, and a few maybe regional state broadcasters. But since then, the industry has grown, and the industry couldn't have grown if it was suffering muzzling or it was under the dictatorial boot of government or a strangulating regulator. The regulator principally is responsible for the exponential growth that we have witnessed in the broadcast industry in Nigeria, an industry that is competing with some of the best in the world. And we don't have any record anywhere of editorial intervention or editorial muzzling of our broadcasters. We don't go to see their books to know what they are going to air per day. We don't tell them to editorialize or classify or declassify content before they put on air. So it's a liberal, free broadcast environment. However, we also know, and we have seen over time, that there's a tendency to go overboard. And at times like that, what is important is the collective interest of Nigerians. The tendency for human beings to be mischievous, we must also take note of that, even in the guise of freedom. Like I said, freedom of expression does not guarantee freedom for destruction. You gave the example of the broadcast of IPOP. IPOP remains, even in the eye of the law, a proscribed organization. And why is IPOP proscribed? Because IPOP definitely represents the destruction of Nigeria. It wants the dismemberment of Nigeria. It doesn't believe in the Nigerian state. It believes that Nigerians have to be torn apart along ethnic lines. And each time they advocate, each time they speak hate, destruction, violence, and dismemberment. And that is not a constructive engagement. That is a narrative that is self-implosive. And that is why it is important that the regulator reminds any broadcaster who wishes to engage organizations like that, that they have to do it with a sense of national sensitivity. The editor, the broadcaster itself, has a responsibility for self-regulation.
Okay. So it wasn't as if they shouldn't have had the interview in the first instance.
What matters is who are you talking to and why. And like I issued in the press statement, it's not peculiar to Nigeria. A lot of people make references to developed countries. The UK banned Sinn Féin and for terrorist inflammatory comments. The BBC at a point decided not to give them visibility or attention. I've read across the world many countries taking measures against terrorist organizations because what terrorist organizations do and what they preach, their message is straightforward.
Okay.
You know, destroy society, bring down the roof.
Okay.
I mean, so no responsible nation, and indeed no responsible broadcaster will want to carry content that is basically destructive.
Okay. I'm still going to tie the next question to instances of this kind of broadcast that we've witnessed. And I know that should be a concern too, or it is a concern also for the traditional media of what the new media is doing, encouraging so many content posting online. And such conversation is now being brought into mainstream media. And these are issues, no doubt. How is NBC looking out to controlling or regulating some of these online messages for the new media coming into mainstream or legacy media?
Thank you, Blessing, for raising this. And I think that that's an area of professional encroachment that the regulator is finding a bit unnerving. What we begin to see now is the tendency for traditional broadcasters who hitherto had a rich culture, you know, of self-regulation, of in-house ethical professional guidelines, abdicating those guidelines and taking hook and sinker content from social media. Who are the people who are churning out content from social media? Are they professionals? How trained are they in terms of news delivery? What are the intention for the content that they spew or they stream? So we expect that any professional broadcaster that's what is onions will take the time, you know, to decipher, read through, double check, verify, authenticate, and confirm before you begin to retransmit or rebroadcast that content. And that's what we saw again during the NSAS campaign. A lot of Nigerians were deceived into thinking that the NBC hammer fell on the broadcast stations because they covered NSAS. No, that was not the issue. They covered, they brought in stories that were uncensored, that were authenticated, unverified, outrightly misleading, manipulated and packaged, you know, to arouse tension and ill feeling and hatred and instill violence, you know, and otherwise credible broadcast stations, you know, got carried away and transmitted some of those content. As we speak today, Blessing, some of the figures and images that were transmitted at that time remain largely unproven.
Professor Idachaba, we're going on a break now. When we get back, we'll talk about another area of interest for the NBC. That's talking about the digital switchover. We'll be taking a look at what Nigerians should do to get right information and also knowledgeable about the societies as they're being governed. Perhaps that will even help in understanding what the role of the broadcaster should be to them as well.
Thank you.
You're watching On the Spot with Director General, National Broadcasting Commission, Professor Idachaba. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back. If you just tuned in, the program is On the Spot, and I still have my guests seated. We're taking a look at the industry, this industry that is offering you what you're watching at the moment. Yeah, my guest, Professor Idachaba, will be taking a look at the latest addition to the rollout of digital signal, otherwise called the digital switchover. DG, Lagos recently came aboard the train, and it's interesting times from the last phase, which was the first phase. That's about 2 years ago now. And between 2016 and 2018, you've had several cities and, of course, states come on board. The latest addition being Lagos, Smart Cities Operation and Outlook. Break it down for the layman watching now. When we're saying digital switchover, switch on, move away from analog, migration, it's all a gamut of expression for broadcasting revolution.
Thank you, Blessing. And again, let me say, Going to Lagos is a major breakthrough. Don't forget, Lagos is Nigeria's biggest city, the hub of our business, and of course,
Creativity hub.
exactly. And we are delighted to go to Lagos. Like I hinted at the launch in Lagos, the entry to Lagos marks a major turning point in terms of the quantum leap that we offer from people who are below or on the other side of the digital divide. By that singular move, from our demography, we know that there are about 5 million TV homes in Lagos. So that automatically means that about 5 to 10 million people are actually going to get across the analog era and begin to have direct interface with digital technology, especially in the area of broadcasting. And credit must be given to people in the industry. I mustn't fail to appreciate your Director General, my Oga, who gave all the necessary support, and perhaps more than any other person made this movement to Lagos very possible. Now, yes, the digital switchover has been on, and it's not a new phenomenon. The people who enjoy GoTV, DSTV, StarTimes are already sharing the digital experience in broadcasting. But why this administration, the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, why it is interested in delivering this DSO or digital switchover proposition is for the benefit of the ordinary Nigerian. As I've said, those who are the upper rung are actually those who are enjoying digital content. And that has created some kind of class stratification or class divide between those with access to wealth and those that do not. Meanwhile, it is an imperative of government, and it's a responsibility of government to ensure that Nigerians, irrespective of their social hierarchy, have access, to information.
So how affordable would this be for the people, since we're trying to bring such classy information as we're putting now, or classy means of getting information across? How affordable?
First of all, the digital switchover DTT proposition, digital terrestrial television, that's what DDT means. Digital terrestrial television. And terrestrial is the one that's on the ground. You don't need a dish, to get the signal. Once you get a small decoder, which you call a set-top box, fine, and you plug to your TV, your analog TV, you don't have to throw away your analog TV. That is the beauty of it. And then you put it on, it gives you digital content. And then the poor man that used to have just one NTA channel or AIT, and usually will go back to turn the antenna with freezing sound, will now have access instantly to like 30, 60 TV channels that they go on his TV set, on his analog TV set with just a box. And more importantly, he doesn't have to pay subscription.
At all?
At all, no subscription. You don't have to pay
at the moment or even in the future?
Till the system goes off. It remains permanent. You don't have to pay subscription because government is interested in giving access of information to the people. But of course, there are cost ends regarding the purchase of the set-top box, which is like decoder, right? But we have also insisted, and strategically what we did was to decide that those boxes, of course, for the DTT proposition, will be produced inside Nigeria. So we got Nigerian companies, 13 of them, gave them license, and said, look, do this, and make it affordable to the ordinary man. So our expectation is that the boxes will not go beyond 5,000 to 6,000. In fact, when we came into Abuja, the boxes were subsidized. They were going for about 1,500. Also in Jos, Oshogbo, Kaduna, and all the other places.
So why did we get this spike all of a sudden then?
Now, suddenly we now realize, because like I said, at that time, government, because it was innovative and it was an entry point, government spent lots of money in subsidizing. But now the government has decided that the proposition has to drive itself. So we allow the business people to also build a business around it, but without exploiting, the ordinary people.
Let's now take a look at some of what people still consider the most important beyond the signals distribution, beyond the other things that will be coming into place. You're also passionate, and of course, being a regulatory body, about content to develop the society, content that will intrinsically be African, Nigerian, to the core, because today we're exposed to a whole gamut of content across the world, which is inimical to some of the development that we have found today. How is the regulatory body set to actually look into that alongside industry players, and also to take a look at what will be coming on should you decide to, okay, entertain some percentage of foreign content?
Thank you. And again, I commend you for raising this. You know, Nigeria has often been prized as one of the biggest hub of content production in the world. Yeah. It's reputed to be, some even say second to Hollywood, or some
Bollywood,
said, or Bollywood, or third or second. But the fact is, Nigeria remains a major content hub. Now, our question is, the quantum of content that is emanating from Nigeria, have we really been able to have the outlet to disseminate those content? Some of our producers and channels have really made it big. Some are being exported. Here in the whole of Africa, Nollywood is #1, and even in parts of Europe and America, especially with diaspora Africa, diaspora Nigerians and other Africans. But the DSO proposition, the digital proposition, now affords creative people, young Nigerians with innovative ideas, an opportunity to also sell across their productions. Don't forget what I said. At a go, we are going to start 30 to 60 television channels, and with the potential to even increase to 100 and more. So the opportunity is there for young Nigerians, and I'm glad that Nigerians, especially the youth, are highly innovative and highly creative, but they have to develop, you know, the business consciousness around their creativity. And what the NBC has done is to create that channel of opportunity, and then through regulation, see how we can get the younger people into the system, into the ecology, in a way that they too can commodify and make benefits from their content. But regarding what kinds of content, and I think it's also important, you know, our deliberate strategy as NBC, the regulator of broadcasting in Nigeria, is to ensure that the DTT proposition in Nigeria is unique as a national heritage. We want it to be a convergence of Nigerian indigenous content. So we want to promote Nigerian sports, Nigerian music, Nigerian storytelling, documentaries that are fundamentally Nigerian. We want to use it as an opportunity, you know, to package the creative industry, and use it as a vehicle to also propagate what is good in Nigeria to the outside world. So to that extent, we are giving minimal attention to foreign content.
Oh, okay, that's great. I must ask this question before we go, because I'm actually even told to round up now. Now, I know the NBC, there are recent calls as jingles, public service announcement for, that's from your body now, to report any broadcast termed offensive or inappropriate for public consumption. And I know it's been running for some time now. I'm still going to link it to a question I had put down, and that is taking a look at if the people are informed, then they will be more knowledgeable about their society, the way they're being governed. The right to ask questions. How should we put this together alongside what you're trying to bring about as calls?
Yeah, I think the convergence point really is basically the need for the people to own the broadcasting landscape. Don't forget that broadcasting is that endeavor that reaches to the heart and soul of men, you know, in a universal manner.
Yes.
Right, but strangely, what we see is that even when broadcast content emanates sometimes that are offensive, that degenerate or lampoon, people hardly ever react. The opposite is the case in developed countries. People are very observant about media content. And you'll be surprised to find out that in the UK and in the United States, most of the monitoring reports that the regulators have to deal with are actually complaints emanating from groups, individuals, you know, that are affected.
So
or likely to be affected.
People are not responding in that manner?
They are
not enough?
Yeah, it's not enough. And that is why you saw we sent out that jingle to say, look, you have a right to quality broadcasting. And that if you have any complaint, maybe you have been under misrepresented. We know that a lot of people have been under misrepresented. If you have been lampooned and abused or criticized unfairly, you have a right to complain to the regulator, because it's a constitutional right that is given by the country. So we encourage people to speak out more. And then we as regulators have that duty, that mandate to ensure that every listener, every audience is treated fairly. So Nigerians have a right to speak. you also have a right to complain.
Okay. Director General, National Broadcasting Commission, Professor Armstrong Aduku
Idachaba. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming on the spot. I appreciate your time. We appreciate your insights, and also we also appreciate the regulation coming like left, right, and center to actually ensure quality broadcast, as the payoff line is. We wish you well in your endeavor as Chief Executive alongside your people. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much too for watching On The Spot this week. Next time it will be with another interesting guest. My name is Blessing Abu. Goodbye.